Most people picture their accounts as a list, a row for each login, unrelated to the rest. That is not how the platform sees them. It does not keep a list, it keeps a graph. Every account is a dot, and everything two accounts have in common is a line drawn between them. A shared address, a reused card, the same recovery email, the same device. The platform spends its quiet hours drawing those lines, and the moment one dot turns out to be a problem, it follows every line leading away from it to see what else it can pull down. This is the account graph, and understanding it is the difference between losing one account and losing all of them in the same afternoon. I run real proxy and cloud phone farms, and I manage fleets of accounts that have to stay genuinely separate to survive. I have watched a single careless edge, one line I did not even remember drawing, take out a batch of accounts that were otherwise run perfectly. This is not theory of a forum post. It is the model I built my whole operations around. Explain the way it works on the platform side, so you can see why one slip travels so far, what the graph actually is. Strip away the jargon, and the graph is just dots and lines. The dots are accounts and the pieces of information attached to them. A card number, a phone number, an email, a device fingerprint, an IP address. The lines are shared attributes. Two accounts that use the same card get a line through that card. Two that logged in from the same device get a line through that device. The platform builds this structure constantly, in the background, whether or not you ever misbehave, because the structure itself is what lets it answer one question fast. Who is connected to whom? Why a graph and not a list? A list can only tell you about one account at a time. A graph tells you about relationships, and relationships are exactly what a platform hunting coordinated accounts cares about. The question it wants answered is never just is this one account bad? It is if this account is bad, what else is it connected to? That is a graph question, the kind you answer by starting at one dot and walking outward along the lines. A graph does it in a single query, which is why every serious platform stores identity this way. The shared IP edge, the most common line between two accounts, is a shared address. Two logins from the same IP get connected, and the strength of that link depends on what kind of address it is. A busy home connection shared by a family is a weak, noisy line. Plenty of real people sit behind it, but an office connection that touches 40 accounts or a data center address no ordinary person would browse from is a strong, clean line the platform trusts. Every account you touch from one address gets quietly wired to every other account you touched from it. The reused payment method edge. Of all the lines, the one drawn through a payment method is the hardest to argue with. A card number, a PayPal account, a billing address. These are close to unique and verified outside the platform, so a shared one is strong evidence that two accounts belong to the same hand, and billing records do not get cleaned up. The fact that one card funded two accounts sits in the ledger permanently, long after you moved on to a different card. This single edge has wiped out more fleets than any fingerprint trick ever has. The recovery email and phone edge. The quietest lines run through recovery details. A recovery email reused across 3 accounts. A phone number sitting in several logins as the backup contact. These never show up on the surface. You do not see them while using the account, but they live in the platform's records and tie those identities together with no help from the device or network. People obsess over proxies and fingerprints, then link 5 accounts to one phone number they use to catch the verification codes, the device and cookie edge. Then there are the lines drawn through the machine itself. The same device fingerprint appearing under 2 account names connects them directly. And even when you clear everything, storage that survives an ordinary cookie wipe, local storage, a cache tag, an ID baked into a file, can leave one thread that stitches a supposedly new session back to the browser that logged into a different account last week. One browser profile serving several logins draws a line between every one of them. The support ticket edge, here is the edge almost nobody thinks about. You write in to support from one account and, somewhere in the conversation, mention another, or send it from an email tied to a second login, or ask the agent to move something between 2 of your accounts. You have just drawn a line by hand, in writing, and handed it over. Support notes become part of the record, And a frustrated message that references your other account is a confession the graph keeps forever. I have seen more clean fleets betrayed by a support ticket than by any clever detection method because the operator linked themselves. Edges you create by accident. Almost none of these lines get drawn on purpose. They get drawn in a hurry. Logging into the wrong account once from your home connection because you were away from your setup. Topping up with the nearest card because the right one was declined. Fixing a quick problem on your everyday browser instead of the isolated profile because it was faster. Every one of those shortcuts is a permanent edge, drawn in a second, that then sits in the graph waiting. The graph does not care that you were in a hurry. The line is the same either way. How one bad dot spreads. Here is why this matters. As long as every account sits alone with no lines to any other, a problem with one is a problem with one. But the moment a single account is confirmed bad, the platform starts at that dot and walks outward. Every account one edge away gets pulled in for a closer look, and the strong edges, the shared card, the shared recovery phone, often get the neighbor actioned in the same sweep. One weak member with a traceable line to the rest turns a single loss into a cascade. Weak edges and strong edges. Not every line carries the same weight. A shared home IP is a weak, probabilistic edge. The platform knows real families exist. A shared subnet, a similar fingerprint, a login an hour apart. These raise suspicion but rarely convict on their own. A shared card, a shared recovery phone, an identical device ID, these are strong edges, close to proof. Here is the trap. You can keep every weak edge spotless and still be sunk by a single strong one. It only takes one hard line between two accounts to fuse them. Why the linking is retroactive? The most unnerving part is the timing. An edge does not have to hurt you the day it is drawn. It just has to exist in the record. The platform can log that two accounts shared a card today and do nothing with it for months, until one of them trips something or a new sweep starts traversing payment edges it used to ignore. Then the line you drew in the spring becomes the reason an account dies in the autumn. Linking is retroactive by nature, which is why a fleet can feel perfectly safe right up until the sweep that walks the edges everyone forgot were there. The graph does not forget, and the graph keeps its history. Deleting a card now does not erase the record that it once funded two accounts. Removing a recovery email does not erase the line it already created. Changing your IP today does nothing about the logins that already share yesterday's address. Edges are historical facts, and you cannot revise the past by cleaning up the present. The only edge that never hurts you is the one that was never drawn, which is why prevention is the entire game. The blast radius of one slip. Think of it as blast radius. If your 50 accounts are truly separate, 50 islands with no bridges between them, losing one costs you 2% of the fleet. But if a single card, a single recovery phone, or one shared browser runs a line through all 50, that one edge is a fuse connecting every island to every other, and the day it lights, the whole fleet goes together. The danger is never the number of accounts you run. It is the number of lines between them, because that decides how far a single failure can travel. Denoding die Flüchtling kontinental, its own IP, its own payment method, its own recovery email and phone, its own device profile, with not one attribute shared with any other account you run. Treat each as if it truly belongs to a different real person, because that is exactly the story the separation is meant to tell. An island has no bridge for a query to cross, when there is no line between two accounts. No sweep starting at one can ever arrive at the other, closing every edge, not most. The catch is that islands are all or nothing. It does no good to give each account its own proxy and antidetect profile if they all still share one recovery phone number, because that single surviving line reconnects everything you work to separate. You have to close every edge type at once: the network, the payment, the recovery contact, the device, and your own behavior in support channels. A fleet is only as separated as its most careless shared attribute. One bridge turns a chain of islands back into a single connected landmass. The discipline is the hard part, and honestly, the tools are the easy part. Buying a distinct proxy and profile for each account is a solved problem. You can do it in an afternoon. The hard part is the discipline of never, not once, under pressure, tired, in a rush, crossing a line you spent months keeping clear. One lazy login from the wrong network, one convenient card, one careless support message, and the edge is drawn. The whole model lives or dies on whether you hold that discipline on the bad days. Because the graph is only ever built out of the shortcuts you took. The honest limit, none of this makes a fleet invincible, and anyone promising you that is selling something. Detection keeps improving. New edge types keep getting added, and a good enough sweep will eventually reach patterns that used to look safe. What genuine separation buys you is this. When a wave comes and one account gets caught, there is no line for it to travel down. The failure stays where it started. You are not making any account immortal. You are making sure that when one falls, it falls alone, because there was never an edge connecting it to the rest. I keep my own accounts separated exactly like this. Distinct mobile proxies, distinct antidetect profiles, distinct payment and recovery details, and a hard rule against ever crossing an edge for convenience, because I would rather lose one account than the whole fleet behind it. I run these farms myself. So when I point you at the proxies or cloud phones I use, you are seeing the real stack, not an affiliate guess. The full guides and tested picks are at multiaccountops.com with a written breakdown of every edge in the graph, how to close each one, and honest reviews of the tools I run on live accounts. Subscribe for honest, tested multi-account ops. Next time, the isolation checklist, the exact attributes to separate before a new account ever logs in, so no line ever gets drawn between it and anything else you run.